It's mano a mano for the AFC West title, and the Chiefs know one thing that they got to get straight. It's all on them. Today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome in, Chiefs fans. Thanks for joining us. We're brought to you today by FanDuel. You can start the season right now with a big return from FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get $150 back in bonus bets if you win just by betting that $5 bet. Check it out at FanDuel.com. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting. I also run NFL 33, if you like the written word about what's going on around the NFL, as well as the college football playoff. We've got a couple of great pieces up there. NFL33.com. Check that out. And I also run NFL content at RGR Football, which is mostly Chiefs-based, but a little bit of everything. So you can check that out as well. Thanks for joining me. We're going to have a rundown here as we get ready for the Chargers preview. A lot to cover, a lot of question marks this week. It's been a great week. Chris has been out, but we've had some great guests. If you haven't seen them all, make sure you go back and check out Seth Kaiser from Monday. We ended up getting Matt Derrick, as we always do, a great crossover with Daniel Wade, and now today we are looking ahead at this Chargers game. Make sure you like, sub, hit the bell, hit all the spots for all the audio and everywhere, because we're free and available every single day. Thanks for making us your first listen. Check out another Locked On show for your next listen. And make sure, if you want that much more, hit the text line at 816-357-8781, because that's where all the locos hang out, our everyday listeners. We love you guys, and we appreciate you hanging out. If you want that much more, that's the place to get it. Great show. We're going to run down the X factors, the guys that I think can stand out and really make the difference, as well as my prediction for how this game evolves and if the Chiefs can actually win the AFC West this week. That's coming up later in the show. Before that, the must-win matchups. Who has to perform well enough to get the job done against the Chargers? It's a list, that's for sure. And we're going to run it down piece by piece coming up in a little bit. But we got to start right where it really does start, and that is understanding who you are and what you have to get done. A couple of updates on the injury report definitely will help with that. As we get going through, we find that, yes, DJ Humphries, the left tackle, newly signed, has been able to get out on the practice field. We'll talk more about that coming up in a little bit. But he was able and undesignated at this point on the injury list to practice. Guys that are on the injury list, like Noah Gray and Charles Omenihu, are now full participants in both Wednesday and Thursday. Now all that's left is a walk-through Friday practice, which is really going to help them be prepared. It is a knee for Omenihu, obviously, and the shoulder for Noah Gray. The one addition here, as the Chiefs went inside of the indoor facility, was Jawan Taylor, the right tackle, got onto a limited practice. Now, that's pretty normal for a veteran, especially when you're going into a non-natural surface. So I wouldn't read too much into that. We got a lot of information about what's going on the tackle rotation on the other side. I don't think they're too concerned at this point, just trying to take it easy on the right tackle, make sure that there's nothing pushing him to get prepared. Obviously, the focus this week has been on left tackle and what has to happen there. There's no rule out yet for where Wanya Morris is. I do find that we have to remind ourselves that it hasn't been absolutely scratched off. There's still a minor possibility. But as they rotated through, got a couple of things that really came out. I've seen video of DJ Humphries doing a couple of drills. Looks fine. Doesn't look like super tentative, but also doesn't look like a guy who is just ready to run down the block and bowl through buildings or anything like that. But it's a start. As we understand, they took a good hard look at him on Thursday, giving him reps with the ones, rolling through with he and Wanye, with Jawan out there as well, with Kingsley Suamataia, and then on down the line through guards, Joe Tooney, as well as Ethan Driscoll. A lot of looks, a lot of where are we right now. I don't think that they've even determined at this point exactly what they're going to do, because there's still another walkthrough practice. You got to make sure that you're doing everything. If you're DJ Humphries, you are trying to make sure that you've got it all in your head, all these play calls, everything that you need to know so that you can walk out on the field and be confident in that time, from the words leaving Patrick Mahomes' mouth to you turning around and lining up, you know what you're doing. That's probably the challenge here right now. And it's also about the longevity. I think getting through the 15 script is probably not a problem for DJ Humphries right now. It looks like he's moving pretty well to me. Don't have confirmation of anything that's lagging or that there's a specific concern, just the stamina. And so I don't know that beyond 15 play count, if you really feel that he can go another 15, can he go another 20? Is another 50 plays in the offing? Because the Chiefs have been running so many plays this year. You have to keep that in mind. And I don't think that it is a good plan to try to substitute, to put him out there, maybe take him out for the second half, et cetera. I don't think that leads to continuity for the day. So I do think that they will make a decision and they will go with a player for this ball game against Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa and the rest of the pass rush out there in order to have that continuity within drives and within halves and throughout that entire game. It does make it a little bit more difficult to finish your evaluation. I think right now all options are on the table. I don't see anything getting ruled out. And given the rotation that we saw today at practice and given that Humphries looks like he can move, I think Joe Thuney is definitely still an option to switch out there, bring in Frank Caliendo at the guard spot, maybe move a couple of other things around. But it really comes down to what do you think is the best for the width of the game, the breadth of the game, so that you're not making a decision based on what is a few, say, lightning bolt plays in the first half that then turns into a drag, a fatigue, or something like that. Both those guys are in unique situations. Then both young guys obviously have played very, very up and down and more on the downside than the up this season, with Wanye actually still sustaining a significant injury. And we have to remember that as well. Maybe at this point, given what we saw today, the longest shot might be Kingsley Suamataia. At some point, they're going to have to get him around. If it isn't this week, then that looks like it's going to be something where he'll play a secondary role. And that can be absolutely fine. I think part of this game plan could include, as we said earlier in the week, a good idea to keep tight ends in the game to help whoever that left tackle is, no matter who it is of any of these four choices. Now, you get into a depth issue there, and you get into Andy Reid's penchant to want to put pass catchers in routes, not inside blocking. So I do like the concept of having at least a package. Maybe it's 3 or 4 plays. Maybe it's up to 10 plays of 6 offensive line runs, plays, runs and passes mixed in there. It does obviously knock down and do something Andy Reid doesn't generally like to do, and that is limit the number of pass catchers. But I think it protects the left tackle and helps, again, put out a front that can attack what is something that the Chargers really need to get after. If you missed my conversation with Daniel Wade yesterday, make sure you go back and check that out, because one of the big matchups is coming in that direction, and I'm going to get to that right after this. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite, and right now, you can save on unforgettable gifts with up to 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, you can score an extra $30 off with our promo code NFL. With 5 generations of experience and consistently delivering the world's best steak experience, the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it even easier to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. From legendary steaks to mouthwatering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide right now at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners are going to get an extra $30 off with the promo code NFL. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com, and you get an extra $30 off for using our promo code NFL. Minimum purchase may apply. Hey, Locked On Chiefs fans, if you're like me and your holiday shopping list is a little bit far from complete, as mine is, we've got something for you that you're going to like. It's fully licensed. Ice Shaker is with the NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, pretty much any acronym of sports you can think of, they are there. They've sold over 1 million bottles, and it's the thing that has changed workout structures. This gift is for everyone. Go to iceshaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to check out and save 25%. It's kitchen-grade stainless steel bottles that won't absorb odor or anything else like plastic bottles do. They're third-party tested, and there's a ton of it that you can go find out there. They're customizable. You can put anything on them. So right now, you can order your branded team bottles at iceshaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for 25% off your order. Ice Shaker, show your support for your teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market, Ice Shakers. Make sure you check out the rest of the Locked On Podcast Network. We have great shows going everywhere. In particular, check out the Chargers because they have a lot to say this week. If you take a step back and you look at must-win matchups, there are some on both sides of the ball. None is bigger than whatever goes into the concept of this. Protect Patrick Mahomes at all costs. There was a lot of discussion throughout this week, but particularly on Thursday, by the coaching staff about how they understand that this is on them. This situation is their design. They wish they'd played better. They wish they'd done that. They wish they'd done this. It all comes back to, on the offensive side of the ball, protecting the quarterback, allowing the quarterback to be who he is. When Patrick Mahomes has to be nervous about the protection, has to be looking out the side of his eye to see where the pressure is coming from, dropping his eyes if the pressure is coming up the front, it all distracts from Patrick Mahomes being Patrick Mahomes. And so that's job number one. I do think, obviously, with the change at left tackle that is most likely to occur, that's going to be the focal point for the defense to attack the Chiefs, but you never know. They could try to do a couple of looky-loos as well, bring pressure from the other side, some blitzing, etc. So this isn't just about the left tackle spot. It's about everybody, and that is everyone being on the same page and being able to execute their particular assignment per play. Doesn't have to be the same thing every play, but it does have to be, you know, your job and you're ready to do it. Obviously, the left tackle is going to be one of the primary matchups. I'm going to go with the fact that I feel like right now it's as much DJ Humphries as anyone's to lose, so it doesn't really matter to me whether it's DJ, who does have a lot of experience, versus one of the younger guys, or Joe Thuney, who has a ton of experience, but is at a disadvantage physically in terms of length and in terms of overall power. So everyone's got kind of a knock on them. It all comes down to battling first Khalil Mack and secondly Joey Bosa and how they choose to attack you. I don't think it's necessarily just one-on-ones. Even for the veterans like Joe Thuney and DJ Humphrey, if they're out there, if you are on the Chargers side of the ball, it's not just a pure power rush, which is Khalil Mack's forte. And it's not just trying to augment, flip him around with Joey or something like that. I think it actually comes down to the decision-making, handling, understanding assignment, meaning that you want to send a couple of extra rushers as well. And I think they will stack over on that side of the ball to attack the left tackle, either inside or out, with a blitzing linebacker, a walked-up safety, a number of things that just get the mind going, so that you have to go down this mental checklist. That's the first thing to slow down a left tackle, is making him think about where he's supposed to be addressing the attack in front of him. If it's one-on-one, it's a little bit more straightforward. And that, I think, is something that the Chiefs can win if whoever is out there can just settle down and have enough support to attack that particular matchup in front of them. I think that is the most critical matchup of the day. Beyond that, there is also another one the offense can take advantage of, and that's straight up the middle. Guys like Morgan Fox, like Poona Ford. This team can be run on in Los Angeles, and that's also something that protects the quarterback. So it all feeds back in to the central concept of help Patrick be Patrick, protect him. I don't think you need another game where he's putting up 49 dropbacks, attempted passes, or anything close. I think that's overkill at that point. And I do think that while Andy was trying to protect Isaiah Pacheco in his first game back, and obviously Kareem's been putting in a ton of work, I do think overall the run game has to tick up higher again, especially against a team that's susceptible to it. They're also a team that's going to try to run on you. So it does help you in terms of keeping your defense a little bit fresher. If you can just consider running the ball between the tackles, doing what's been successful for you this year, and running play action off of it, there will be opportunities over the top. That is certainly clear. Derwin James is still out there, yes. But when you take a look at like your top tacklers, who's playing the best, it's your secondary. And so the run game helps you set up how you can attack that secondary. James is obviously still an incredible player. The right corner still is playing pretty well. It did last week as well. Marcus May is out there. I think he can be had a little bit. So it's about choosing your setup and then taking the knockout punch with D-Hop or Xavier in particular, maybe McCole Hardman. DeAndre Hopkins obviously is been coming on a little bit more contested catch, a little bit more timing, a little bit back shoulder. That's all things that you can add into this particular game a little bit more based off of a heavy run set and a little bit of quick action, play action passing. That's certainly in the offing. On the opposite side of the ball, the key matchup is understanding if you're going to put a single player on Ladd McConkey, who, as of this afternoon, is confirmed to have practiced both days to this point. He is trending towards being on the field for this ballgame, which for the Chargers is pretty much a must-have. Went off last week to the tune of 117 yards receiving, and without him, the picture gets very, very dim for the Chargers against these Chiefs. So they have to be aware of where he is at all times. I do think they should put their best man on him, being Trent McDuffie. And it looks like right now, from what we've seen from practice, it looks like Joshua Williams looks to be the number 2 man out of the gate. The question then becomes, if you put Trent in the nickel and Joshua's out on one side, who plays the other outside corner? And could it be Najee Johnson, who obviously got benched but has put in some good reps? I think that's a little bit long in the tooth there. There is CRW. Keith Taylor's practicing. It looks like he's getting a few reps, a little bit up the depth chart as well. He is also a guy that has length, has power, and has physicality that I think you combat some of the bigger receivers. Palmer's still out there. You still have Quentin Johnson, who has not been performing well, but you still have to make sure that you take advantage of what you do matchup-wise. So I'd actually prefer, if they have to go that route, to maybe consider leaving Najee in at the nickel, maybe using Chris Rowland-Wallace in at the nickel, and let Joshua and McDuffie stay outside. It's going to be, I think, matchup-based, and honestly, I think game flow-based as well. Could we see a little bit more zone this week in order to facilitate some of that, knowing that the run is really there and they want to base on that? We definitely could. I think that's perfectly fine, but the matchup they have to win. And by win, I mean not giving up huge explosive plays and 100-yard days, specifically to Ladd McConkey. If that happens, Justin Herbert gets on a roll. It helps the run game and helps them make the Chiefs' life tougher. The other, in particular, thing that they have to make sure that they do is cover better in the deep secondary. The safeties need to step up their game. Brian Cook, Shamari Connor in particular, and when in situations where you're covering one-on-one, Justin Reed as well. This is the time that, much like the offense was taking it on their shoulders and saying that this is on us, it's on the defense as well. It's on everybody on this team to take that pressure and react to it and take your game up a few notches. That's what they're looking at needing to do right now and win those matchups, and you are halfway home, if not farther, to a win. To get that win, you have to take care of the X factors. You have to be an X factor at times. And I'm going to tell you how it breaks down and what I think is going to happen coming up next. You want to celebrate with and stay connected to people who are far away? Missing someone this holiday season makes you want to send them something and try to have the festivities from afar. Well, we have the answer for you. You've got the perfect gift in Skylight. Skylight Frame is the touch screen digital photo frame for the whole family. They're all going to love it. You can upload thousands of photos from your phone and watch them appear in seconds or an email. Super simple. All you got to do is act on this limited time offer right now for our listeners and get $20 off of your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/NFL. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/NFL. And you can get $20 off of it at your purchase at skylightframe.com/NFL. Thanks for being with us. Make sure you check out NFL33.com and RGRfootball.com, my other outlets, for even more information on these Chiefs and what the draft is looking like, what the college football playoff is looking like, and all things around the NFL that do have some importance. X factors are always my favorite part of this show because you can find one thing that can be an advantage. Every team has a matchup that bothers them. Every team against, especially a division foe, has a couple of guys that they know, even though if they're not destroying other teams around the league, that they have something that they do against you that is good that you have to guard against. And so that's really where I'm focused the most at. And it starts with how you attack the Chargers offensive line, particularly if you're Chris Jones. You have Rashawn Slater, who's playing well, graded out very well last week. Joe Alt on the other side, graded out well last week, doing a couple of good things. So it's inside that you want to attack. It is Bradley Bozeman starting for them at center. Zion Johnson, who is a good player, but has had a bit of a rough go lately in pass protection. So for me, it's Chris Jones really being the focal point, and having Charles Omenihu out there again like you did last week, and having George Karlaftis and Mike Dan available, and being able to then supplement with Turk, with a linebacker coming in. I do like some 5-man blitzes against Herbert. You do have to be wary of him because he's a little bit more athletic than people give him credit for. But it is that B gap, and sometimes even the C gap that you have to feint so that you can come back inside in the A gap protection on Herbert's left-hand side and really attack the center of that defensive line. I think this is a game that sets up well for Chris Jones. He just has to have enough support around him so they can't put 2 and 3 guys on him constantly. They're going to double him a lot. He has the ability to beat that. So it's still about Chris Jones sparking everything. But I do think this is also another game where you're going to see a little bit more blitzing because you can't let Gus Edwards get a start on you. And so the X factors become Chris Jones and Spagnuolo, how he chooses to attack with what defenders. On the offensive side of the ball, I think it's too easy to call Noah Gray an X factor at this point because he's been playing a very meaningful role in very prescient, important points in games, and I think he will continue that some. But to be an X factor, you have to be able to land a punch, to hurt the offense, to get a chunk against the Chargers. And that comes down to only a couple of guys. I don't think you can overplay Travis Kelce. You don't want to put 14 targets on him. I think that plays into what they like to do. And obviously, with Derwin James out there, they're going to rough Travis up quite a bit. So take advantage of Noah. Use Hopkins for what he is. Use his new connection with Mahomes to maximize the contested catches, to maximize the back shoulder things that really take an entire defense and reduce it down to a single player. As long as you can protect 2.5, 3 seconds, you are able to do some deep outs in the 12 to 15 yard range. You can get those delivered. You can put them so that no matter where the safety help is or where the backside pass rush is coming from, you hit that third step, you rock the ball out, and it gets towards DeAndre Hopkins with a single defender. Now, if they're going to start bracketing, that's fine, but you still have some options there. So you feed that a little bit more. And then the true X factor, Xavier Worthy, has an opportunity. You can attack this defense deep, particularly if you're running play action. And that all is predicated on what we talked about in the last segment, in that run the ball so that you can set up everything else. This is a classic game plan, and it needs to be, quite honestly, so that you can accomplish the goals that you want. And that is also to not just rely on your superstar athletes in Travis Kelce and DeAndre Hopkins and Chris Jones and Patrick Mahomes, but you can get not just spreading the ball around, but get more input and more performance from more players, particularly Xavier Worthy. This is a game that, to me, in the division against this secondary, one that wants to play tough and really has their best defender out wide, outside of Derwin James, who's going to be on Travis Kelce all day. I think there's opportunities there. Marcus May, Tony Jefferson can be had, especially if they're trying to come down in run support. And particularly, they're going to have Christian Fulton possibly. I know there's a little bit of back and forth in that. Did not show on the injury report, so I do think he will be out there. But I also think, particularly when it comes to speed, he's a guy that's going to try to take some chances, and you can affect him with speed and get some chunk plays. So I do want to see play action. I know that's tough to stomach with the left tackle situation, but you have to set that up by running the ball hard, getting a little bit there, and just getting that edge. If you get the ball up where either he's behind the safeties or he's got a beat on the safeties, you're going to have, I think, a better performing Patrick Mahomes get Xavier Worthy the ball in positions that he can actually make the catch without so much of this, you have to do this perfect. They are still a work in progress. That connection, DeAndre Hopkins, with his experience, I think, has come in and jumped his chemistry with Patrick Mahomes a little bit faster. But the two of them, together with the rest of the receivers, I do think are coming along. Justin Watson also is a dark horse for being somebody that contributes to this game because he's starting to come on and be in the right place at the right time to help Patrick Mahomes. So when I step back and see the whole thing, I think it's a slugfest. I think the Chargers probably come out and are a little bit more robust in the run up front, maybe get after the defense in the first couple of drives and are successful. That's one thing. It's not how fast the Chiefs start on offense. It's about finding what's going to work, using the first 15 as an exploratory punch, checking things to see where you can go and how much time you can get. Then I think they have the ability to hone in on how they attack this team. I expect them in the second and third quarters to start to surge and to either have to come back and get the lead or take the lead and keep it. But I don't, in the end, see this being a game that is as close as it probably is on the scoreboard. As we've seen, this team's going to play close games. But I do think physically on the field, there's going to be a bit of a different feel. In the end, I think the Chiefs are able to take this. They have the entire AFC West title on the line. It is a string that they do not want to lose. And honestly, they don't even want to delay it. You don't want to leave any hope for the Broncos, who are starting to play a little bit better and have some success against other teams in the league. You don't want to leave any questions at this point. So I think that they put it all out there, and I think they do step up their game because they know it's on them. In the end, I think the Chiefs end up winning, maybe not a high-scoring game, but they take it away 24-20, not a last-second game. I think we're all a little bit happier afterwards. So make sure that you can experience that with us, because we're going to be live post-game like we are every single week, and we would love to see you here. If you can do that, very, very welcome. We always have a good time, Matt. Derek will join us live, and that will give us a little bit of insight that you can't get anywhere else, along with our analysis. I appreciate you being here. It's been a fun week for me. Just kind of have the reins all by my lonesome. So thanks for being here. Like, sub, hit the bell. Join us on the other platforms. Make sure you check out the next Locked On show, and we'll talk to you after Chiefs Chargers.